How's it going? Necrotic Nick with Thralls of Metal, and we're here to do something a little different. We recently hooked up with a website known as Screaming Toilet, which is an awesome review site for a lot of underground music, movies, TV shows, toys, podcasts. Definitely check it out. So these guys kindly sent us albums to review, and we're going to start doing that for them now. So it's kind of a cool opportunity for us to do some one-on-one reviews of a whole bunch of different stuff that actually this first batch, nothing in here I'd ever heard of, which is really cool because I love hearing new music. So, the album that I chose to review is a new debut full-length from the band Doomstress, with their album Sleep Among the Dead, out on Ripple Music. This is a doom metal slash kind of hard rock band from Houston, Texas, formed in 2016, and again, this is their debut full-length. So this is a really good first offering. The way the album starts off is very reminiscent of a band like St. Vitus. It has very heavy, doom-laden riffs, but still kind of a hard rock edge to them. The vocals actually remind me a bit of Wino's time in the band when he was doing vocals, but also coupled with even Geddy Lee a bit. Now the opening track, Bitter Plea, really kicks off with a nice crunchy riff, but it kind of goes into almost Candlemass-like territory on the chorus part. It kind of has this interesting kind of crawling riff that goes on that is very reminiscent of something you'd hear in predominantly Candlemass's era with Messiah Marconin. The mix on this is really interesting too, because it seems to be divided in half, and it looks like they did it in multiple studios, so you got some different feels for different songs. The first half of it has more of a straightforward hard rock feel, like namely the first two tracks really just have a straight up almost kind of desert rock meets doom feel to it. A lot of stuff that was reminiscent of bands like The Sword too, where just, bring the riff and kind of chug along. Now some of the songs stick with the riff a little bit too long, and they kind of milk it for all it's worth, and then it starts to drag a little bit, so the song kind of stagnates for a bit. I thought Burning Lotus kind of did that a bit, which was the second track, but then it picks up again with the next track, Dreaming Spider, which I thought was really good. It has a nice clean opening, very dirge-like. It really sets mood, and you're starting to really get that doomy feel. Because honestly, the first two tracks didn't really register to me as doom metal as much as it was more hard rock. But it had kind of a sullen feel to it, so it had echoes of it. Dreaming Spider definitely sounds like a doom metal song. Right away, it opens up very sullen, and then it moves into a big riff and almost kind of an off-time drum pattern, which really kind of broke it up because the rest of it was very straightforward and direct. This one showed a little bit of flair. After that, we get into Your God is Blind, which I thought was an interesting track because it actually throws in a little bit of trad metal or traditional metal, very much in the realm of newer bands like Haunts or even Spirit Adrift, which I think this is definitely close to as well. And I love Spirit Adrift. Then even gets into some classic rock territory, which I really like. There's a bridge on there that has a fierce Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult kind of feel, and some keyboards thrown in there for a little bit of atmosphere, nice little bits of layering. And honestly, I think this is the first one where the vocals really started to shine a bit. The other ones, they seemed a little flat, but they were still serviceable. I thought they were good. They just needed a little bit more oomph behind them, and it might have something to do with the mix because they seemed like they were a little bit in the back. But this one, she really showed off a little bit more of her higher register, and I thought that actually opened it up a bit. The back half of this album is where I think it is absolutely loaded. Bones and Rust has a killer, very warm stoner metal vibe with the bass intro, and one of the doomier riffs on here. Like, this is where the production actually started to change, I think. It sounded heavier, it sounded more full. The vocals were more audible in the mix. They weren't pushed back as much. Everything sounded much crisper, and I thought that was kind of a weird contrast. And even though on the CD itself it actually says those first 4 tracks are side A and the next 3 are side B, so this is where I feel like they really kind of got into their groove as far as the album goes. And that brings up an issue of pacing, where the front half is decent but the back half is really good, so it didn't open as strong as I would like. If they opened with one of these tracks, these remaining 3 tracks, I would have been in love right away. Apathetic Existence has a straightforward Black Sabbath, as in Black Sabbath the song, worship. It sets that slow, doomy vibe, much like that riff to the song that is so characteristic of everything doom metal. That's where that shit was built from, in my opinion. It just hits heavier than hell. Like, that was honestly probably the best track on there. I fucking absolutely loved it. Closing track, also excellent too. Nice sludgy bass tone lead in, which was a kind of a contrast between the more warm feel of the bass intro that came in on Bones and Rust. This one was way more grimy sounding, and it really set the pace for a nice slow build of a song to kind of a cool crescendo, and it just really had a lot of impact. I really dug that part. The last track, which is the title track, also reminds me of the band The Devil's Blood, which were a great trad metal, doom metal band that brought in a lot of cool occult feel. Kind of like Ghost without all the theatrics, if you actually like those guys, and definitely a more raw feel and more worship of bands like the Scorpions in there too. That one I thought was particularly good too. They also brought in some more backing vocals. The other guys in the band chipped in and kind of gave a little bit of heft behind certain moments. They were good backing vocals, they weren't great, but they actually added a lot of dynamic to that moment, and I really dug that. So all in all, I think I'll give this album about 3 stars. I would definitely go back to this, and I'd like to check this out live. I think they need to pursue the stuff that's on the back half of this album, because I think that is where they really shine. The songs were dynamic, they really stood out, and the front half, while not bad, didn't have the same impact to me. So I think 3 stars is fair, and I think this is a band worth checking out. And if you haven't heard them, I'll put a link to some of the music in the description so you can check them out. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We do stuff like this all the time. And also thank you to Screaming Toilet for giving us this opportunity. Catch you guys later.